college can be a magical place. A place where you can gain immeasurable knowledge, meet people who will become your found family, and even learn complex concepts through BrainRot? You heard that right. Welcome to BrainRot University, the only institution where every class can disintegrate your brain just as quickly as it builds it up. For many of you, it's your first day, and welcome. Let me get you up to speed. I'm Matty C, and while doing my PhD in chemical and biomedical engineering, I found myself doing so many interesting and groundbreaking things, but didn't really have the right outlet to explain why those things were cool to my non-sciencey friends and family. No matter how much I tried to simplify my research, there was no way of fully getting across all of the work I was doing. So me and a longtime friend created BrainRot University, a place where we could put all of my scientific research and finally convey it in a way that everyone can understand. Which is, of course, a robotic dub of the findings of my paper with Minecraft in the background. Now, to be fair, I've only done this once before, but the result of that was kind of mixed. If you haven't seen that video yet, go check it out. You'll see what I mean. But that last video got me thinking. Maybe the BrainRot just wasn't trained enough. Maybe now and every other time that I upload a new paper, it'll become more refined and actually be able to explain it in a way where it's not an absolute joke. It can find that perfect balance between education and entertainment. So today we're asking the same question, but with a slightly different twist. Can BrainRot explain my most complicated PhD research? We are going to build on the foundations that we learned in BrainRot 101. So here's how it'll go down. I'm going to give my own brief explanation of the paper, go over the background of the research field in general, some of the problems that we're trying to solve, and how specifically we tried to solve them. I know data doesn't stand a chance against Subway Surfers, so I'm only going to give a brief overview of what's going on. Give most of the explanations through cartoons, vibes, and friendship. I'll end with a really quick summary, like under 60 seconds or so. This is because the AI that produces the BrainRot usually keeps their videos under 60 seconds, and we didn't do that last time, but want to try comparing apples to apples this time. I'm also aware that nobody wants to see a 30-year-old say the word skibidi, so I'm going to avoid any BrainRot terms and leave that to the AI. And finally, we'll end with what you came here for, which is uploading my paper to PDF to brainrot.org. We'll sit back, relax, and watch the magic happen. Then we'll do a second view and we'll critique the science along the way, see if the AI actually understood anything that we were doing. Today, you're in for an absolute treat, if I do say so myself, as we get to analyze the paper, Supramolecularly Cross-Linked Nanogel Assemblies for On-Demand Ultrasound-Triggered Chemotherapy. In this paper, we made nanoparticles that could carry an anti-cancer drug inside of it, then release that drug only when we blasted it with ultrasound when it reached the cancer. There are a couple reasons why I chose this specific paper for the BrainRot. Partially because it was the project that I proposed to my supervisor. It came from my own noggin, and therefore, it is my son. And even though I love all of my children the same, this one's definitely my favorite. But most importantly, it's because this paper's dense, like to a fault. And you might be thinking, well, why would I pick one that's hard? Doesn't hard usually mean stinky and boring? Now, little Timmy, that's sometimes true, but the main reason why I wanted to pick a slightly harder paper was to really put the AI to the test. I want to see how good it is at analyzing and summarizing papers that has a few rabbit holes that really only the engineering and pharmacology nerds would know going into this paper. Now, don't get me wrong, those nano rabbit holes get me absolutely fired up. I doubt that this or any other generative AI has really seen any paper like this. ChatGPT can't even confidently do 2 + 2, so I don't really expect skibidiscience.net to understand new biomedical engineering research, which now that I think about it is probably best for us because that means it's more likely for it to be bad and therefore we get to laugh at it together. So without further ado, I'd like you to meet my son. As always, I'd like to give a little bit of background, not just for this paper, but for the research field in general. This paper operates in a subsection of biomedical engineering called anti-cancer drug delivery. This is the field where you make little materials that can make anti-cancer drugs better. This can mean anything from making the drug better at killing cancer cells or better at preventing side effects. This idea works by making things called nanoparticles, which are tiny materials that are 1,000 times smaller than the thickness of the hair on your head. We then place an anti-cancer drug into those nanoparticles. The particles are made of a very specific size and chemistry and are able to directly deliver this drug to the cancer. These nanoparticles basically act like an Uber for your drugs, driving these drugs directly to the harmful cancer tissue that we're trying to kill. The problem is this bit is hard to do, and that's mainly because nanoparticles need to overcome many barriers within your body before they can get to the cancer. Each biological barrier has a specific size that the nanoparticle must be in order to overcome them. I went over these specifics of what these sizes are in my last BrainRot University video, so check that out if you want more details. But the gist is that nanoparticles should be big, approximately 100 to 200 nanometers in diameter, when they're first administered to a patient, then get smaller as they get closer to the cancer. The final size should be between 10 and 50 nanometers. So the main challenge is to make a nanoparticle that can switch its size at different points in this drug delivery pathway only when we need it to. So for this paper, we brought back a fan favorite size switching nanoparticle, nanoassemblies. These are just big nanoparticles that are carrying small nanoparticles that are carrying the cancer-killing drug, kind of like those Russian nesting dolls. So there were some significant differences between the last nanoassemblies we made and the ones we made for this paper. The most exciting difference is in the way that they release the drug. Here's what I mean. You see, the last time we made nanoassemblies, we used a chemistry that was susceptible to the natural cancer environment. Get the nanoparticles into the cancer and the drug will simply be released. Hands off, no intervention needed. But not all cancers are the same, and therefore they might not have the right environment to actually release the drug. So in this new paper, we made a nanoassembly that has chemistry that could deliver the anti-cancer drug when we blast it with ultrasound. Yes, the same ultrasound you use when you need proof that a living thing is growing inside of you. And yes, we could manually control when and how much drug could get into the cancer. Now, I said I wouldn't show a lot of data, but I've got one piece that I want to show you because I think it highlights this idea really, really well. These are images of fake cancers that we grew in a little dish. The red color represents the cancer cells that have a cancer-killing drug inside of them. You'll notice that the top row is pretty dark. There's not a lot of red, meaning that there's not a lot of drug trying to kill the cancer. Now, the opposite is true for the bottom row. Lots of red everywhere. In fact, we measured it to be about 1.5 times more red than the top row. These cancer cells on the bottom row better count their days because the boys are coming for them. Now, these cancers were the same, but they were treated differently. The only difference, the bottom row had our nanoassemblies that were blasted with ultrasound, and the top row had those same particles, but with no ultrasound. So what does this tell us? This is the proof that our nanoassemblies can destroy tumors when we, the humans, tell them to. And we tell them to by using an ultrasound. And I won't go specifically into what chemistry we used and why this works, but just know that the chemistry that we used to break apart these particles and release the drug was chosen for a reason. Let's go back to our Uber example for a quick summary of what's going down. The drug-containing nanoassemblies are going on a road trip to beat the wheels off of some cancer cells. They need something big and cozy that will get through the tough terrain on the road to cancer. So they order an UberXL and they get something big, like a cheap Wrangler. Cheap Wrangler, are those big? Sure. But as they get closer to the cancer tissue, they have to fuel up, so they stop at Matty C's gas station, where I say, hey, don't go through there. You can't go through there unless you downsize. Wranglers are too big. For the goodness of my heart, I let the nanoassemblies take my much smaller 2025 Mazda 3 GS to deliver the precious cargo, aka a flying German suplex to the groin of the cancer cells. And because me and my colleagues are so generous, we can do this to any of the UberXLs that are trying to beat up the cancer tissue. Well, would you look at the time? It's finally BrainRot o'clock. 1 second. Had to get my business wear on. It's like the Professor Sweater vest if you were stupid. PDF to BrainRot AI turned boring PDFs into BrainRot. Tired of dull textbooks? Transform any PDF into entertaining, TikTok-inspired BrainRot content. Learn faster, remember longer, and have fun doing it. So as a reminder, we're going to watch it once together for the first time, no interruptions. Then we'll watch it a second time. We'll go line by line and see what the AI was trying to talk about. And the last time it was pretty rough at first, so we might need to do multiple uploads to see if it can actually do a good job. Innovative drug delivery system for chemotherapy. If I had to describe what the title of the paper was in less scientific terms, I would probably go with that. But without further ado, class is in session.
Innovative drug delivery system for chemotherapy. Skibidi. It is time to dive into the world of nanogels and drug delivery. Imagine a dank system where small nanoparticles vibe with a larger poly-oligoethylene glycol methyl ether meth ACRY late nanogel. This is not just any ship. It is a size-switching wonder that responds to ultrasound. When you hit it with high-intensity focused ultrasound, the goon-like nanogel releases tiny, penetrative SNPs, boosting drug delivery effectiveness. Edge up the tumor-killing game by triggering this slick system, which turns out to be a sigma move in cancer therapy. Get ready for low-key breakthroughs in non-invasive chemotherapy.
Okay. Not terrible. Initial thoughts. Pretty general. I feel like that was pretty straightforward. They weren't getting into the weeds of anything. They really kept it pretty high level of just like, oh, this is what we're trying to do. Let's do another watch real quick. 1 second.
Innovative drug delivery system for chemotherapy. Skibidi. It is time to dive.
You know what? It's brain rot content. How could you say skibidi? What's wrong with you? That's like the one word you have to know right. It's skibidi, goddammit. Fuck. Anyways.
Into the world of nanogels and drug delivery.
Nanogels and drug
Imagine a
delivery.
dank system where small nanoparticles vibe with a larger oligoethylene glycol methyl ether meth ACRY late nanogel.
All right. So they tried to describe what the nanogel was made of. And the nanoassemblies that we used in this paper were made of poegma, polyoligoethylene glycol methyl ether methacrylate. Okay? Poegma. They tried saying that in this, which I definitely appreciate. However, when they don't know half of the words in this word, and they just start saying the letters, holy Christ, that is hard to listen to. That does not sound good. And if I had to see something like this online, I'd switch away from that right away. That would be the moment for sure where I'm like, you can't even read. This AI doesn't even know how to read.
Wonder that responds to ultrasound. When you hit it with high-intensity focused ultrasound, the goon-like nanogel releases tiny, penetrative SNPs, boosting drug delivery effectiveness. Edge up the tumor-killing game by triggering this slick system.
All right. This part here, those last like 10, 15 seconds. Oh my God, yes. So good. Perfect.
The goon-like nanogel releases tiny,
they drop goon, which is always good.
SNPs,
and they're penetrative
boosting
SNPs.
drug delivery effectiveness.
Boosting the drug
Edge up the tumor
effectiveness. And this is also really good. So we described nanoassemblies as like a big nanoparticle that holds a small nanoparticle that holds a drug. So the SNPs, or the starch nanoparticles, were holding that cancer-killing drug. They're highly penetrative. And what this means is that they're able to go through to these really hard to reach areas of a cancer. Let me back up a second. A lot of solid tumors are like this. There's like a dense ball of cells. It's one thing to kill cancer cells that are on the outside of a tumor. That part is, it's not easy, but it's easier than, say, getting to the inside. What you want to do is you want to design something that is able to penetrate through to the center of the tumor. And we showed in this paper how the SNPs are the reason that we can penetrate to those hard to reach areas. And what we think is happening is that when there's no ultrasound, it's just like the big nanoassembly is trying to get through the cancer. But when we use the ultrasound, we actually are breaking apart the nanoassembly. The SNPs, which are small and penetrative, are then able to carry that anti-cancer drug into those hard to reach areas of a tumor.
Turns out to be a sigma move in cancer therapy.
Sigma move in cancer therapy.
Get ready for low-key breakthroughs in non-invasive chemotherapy.
I like that. But I think one thing is, there's not really a whole lot of specifics in this, right? This was pretty high level. And I think one thing that I liked about the last time we did this was when we uploaded it the second time, the BrainRot was throwing in like really important data that was found in the abstract. So one sec. Not that we need to have this, but just for funsies, let's see. We're just gonna redo it, okay? And to keep consistency, we're gonna do all of the exact same settings. I'm not really gonna pay for this, am I? One sec. Okay, well, yeah, now I have 11 credits. Let's try this again. Classes once again. In session.
Innovative drug delivery systems for chemotherapy. Skibidi vibes in the lab as scientists unleash a goon of a nanogel assembly, combining tiny starch nanoparticles with a polyoligoethylene glycol methyl ether meth ACRY late base. This dank concoction is triggered by high-intensity focused ultrasound, releasing mini drug carriers like a toilet flush. The edge of innovation. Right. With the HIFU. Magic. They boost DOX release from 17 to 37%, turning tumors into sigma targets. Imagine the ship of chemotherapy cruising through cancer cells. All thanks to this low-key genius approach, making drug delivery more precise and effective. The future is bright, folks.
Okay. I think I like this one less. I think there were some cool things they added, but let's go back and see why it was not so good.
Innovative drug delivery systems for chemotherapy. Skibidi vibes in the lab as scientists unleash a goon of a nanogel assembly.
Goon of a nanogel, yo. Like we know gooners are in the chat right now, and we know gooners love BrainRot U, but goon of a nanogel, so good. I don't think I'll ever get sick of hearing this. Call my nanoparticles goons.
Tiny starch nanoparticles with a polyoligoethylene glycol methyl ether meth ACRY late base. This dank concoction.
Okay. Dank concoction. Hilarious. I hope it comes in all of the future videos. They mentioned starch nanoparticles a little bit sooner. That's pretty cool.
Is triggered by high-intensity focused ultrasound. Releasing
Good.
mini drug carriers like a toilet flush.
And that's maybe the best part. Up until the toilet part. It releases mini drug carriers, which is good. It doesn't really connect the fact that it's like the starch nanoparticles are those mini drug carriers. It kind of makes it seem like they're a separate thing, which might be confusing, but they did catch it. And then for some reason, it's like a toilet flush. What the fuck is that? I'm pretty sure we didn't write anything about toilets in this manuscript. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. Don't really know where the toilet part came up, especially because they talk about ships later. Stick to one water analogy.
Right. With the HIFU.
That's the
magic.
HIFU is just the high intensity focused ultrasound.
Boost docs release from 17 to 37%.
This is what I was looking for. Boosting dox release 17 to 37%. So dox, also known as doxorubicin hydrochloride, is the anti-cancer drug that we put into our nano assemblies. These are meant to kill the cancer. And we show in this graph here, over the set time that we looked at, when we turned on ultrasound a couple times, we were able to get 37% of the total amount of drug that was in our nano assemblies were released. But when we used no ultrasound, we got around 17%. So that's obviously more than twice as much when we used ultrasound. This is one of the ways that we showed that, yes, drug release is controlled by the ultrasound. Really good that they caught this. I kind of like it personally. Like, even if I'm watching TikToks or Reels on my own time and I see someone's like, wow, scientists have discovered this thing has improved. I personally like to see how much that thing has improved. If you just tell me that it's better, it's not quite as convincing as when you see like a flashy stat. So I think it's good that they brought in this one.
Turning tumors into sigma targets.
Sigma targets? Hilarious. Sigma targets makes cancer sound way less scary. Like, cancer sucks. Like, everyone hates cancer, but if you call it a sigma target, not that scary anymore.
Imagine the ship of chemotherapy cruising through cancer.
We're back to the ships.
Imagine the ship of chemotherapy.
The ship of chemotherapy cruising through cancer cells. Okay, that's pretty good. I think last time they just said the cancer ship. This time it's saying it's like a ship that is cruising through cancer cells. There's at least a consistent analogy. Like, I'm still mad at them for making a toilet analogy, but this ship one, I can deal with.
All thanks to this low-key genius approach. Making...
I wouldn't say it's genius, but like, it's pretty cool, I guess. But thanks, PDF to BrainRot. Yeah, so I think once again, I'm pretty mixed. I think in both cases, it was okay. They do a pretty good job of keeping it pretty high level, but it still doesn't know how to keep it at a high level and keep everything kind of connected to each other, right? Like in the second video where they mention how there's these starch nanoparticles, there's this really long polymer with a name that they've absolutely butchered, which is totally fine. And then there's something about docs, and there's something about these nano carriers, and it didn't seem obvious to me how they were all linked. Now, obviously I wrote the damn thing, so I get it, but I think if I was new to this, I wouldn't understand what each of those individual parts were and why they are doing what they're doing. On top of that, the brain rot was like, again, maybe I'm just grumpy old man, but the brain rot didn't seem funny. It just seemed annoying. It just seemed like it was getting in the way, and just like, it was way more cringe and way more eye-rolly than anything else. So I don't know. I liked how in the first one, it was like a little bit more high level. So you kind of got, I feel like you kind of got a nicer taste. The second one, they had a couple numbers, but I think it ended up just being more confusing. I don't know. If I had to give a winner, I'd still probably say the first one. But let me know what you think down below. Let me know which of the three options you like better. You know, my stinky Uber example, BrainRot 1 or BrainRot 2. If you're interested in learning more, I'll add the link down below and in my bio. I'd also be happy to answer any specific questions that you might have if you don't want to give the paper a full read and deal with all the technical jargon and you just want me to break it down for you. So let me know what you think. And regardless of all of this, as always, thank you all for stopping by. Now, if you'd like to enroll in BrainRot University, feel free to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button. Lots more paper breakdowns coming very, very soon. Feel free to leave a comment as to what papers you would like to see brain rotified. But honestly, I'm willing to consider pretty much anything. It might be fun to see how brain rot and Matty C compare in explaining something they don't really know. And finally, if you'd like to see more brain rot, science news, and everything in between, but in bite-sized form, come follow me over at Matty C PhD on all socials. But that's all for today. See you later, nerds.